Hello again, this is Kurt Red with the Advanced Connection classes. We will be learning in this Advanced Connection class all kinds of really neat stuff. So rib head, scapular pain. When people say that they have a pain in the scapulary, one side or the other, sometimes it's both sides, but most of the time it's just one side, and it's consistent, keeps coming back, and either it doesn't ever go away or it goes away temporarily and then comes back. That's usually a rib head. Do you have any pain by your scapula anywhere?
Yes, in my right scapula.
Okay. So then I put them to the side and I will begin feeling down, and what I'm looking for is what feels like a nasty knot. Is that about where it is?
Yeah, about there.
Okay. So it feels like it's a nasty knot, and there'll be a lot of tightness around that. But what I'm looking for is a rib head out of place. So it's a nasty knot that no matter how hard you push on it, you're not going to get it to go away because it's not really a knot, it's a rib head. So if that's the rib we're talking about, then about 2 inches, an inch or two below on the front side is going to be the other side of that rib. That's going to be about right here. So then I'll always ask, is it okay if I check your ribs in the front? And in this case, it's not a problem because it's a good location. But if you ask them if there's any pain in the front, most of the time they will say no until you start pushing on it, and then you'll find a spot that's sore. So you got one possibly there, but that's probably the rib right there. Which one of these is painful when I push on it?
The lower one.
Okay. So that's the same rib front and back, and you can feel that it protrudes out further than the rib above it and below it by about 1/8 of an inch. And just comparing the rib above it and below it, you can find where that is. And the fact that it's painful when you push on it means that's the rib head that's out of place. So very important to identify that, because if you get that rib to go back into place, the rib being out of place is the irritant that's causing everything else around it to tighten up. It's annoying, and it's not all that painful most of the time, but it causes everything around it to tighten up. So with the rib head out of place, pretty soon the shoulder will be out of place, pretty soon you have a neck that's tight, and then you get headaches, and then you get pain down the back. So the rib head is the first thing to get rid of. If you work on the neck without fixing the rib, you've wasted time, because it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse, because it's the rib that needs to be worked on. So putting pressure on the rib that's out of place in the front and the back. Sometimes you need to go with the intercostals above and below to loosen up those muscles and the tightness in between the ribs before you get it to move. And I'll come underneath, and it's pretty easy to find the rib that we identified. So there's tight muscles, there's muscles going up and down that are tight, but the rib head itself is pretty obvious underneath that tight muscle. The paraspinal muscles are tight, but it's easy to find the rib that's out of place. Right there. And I always verify with them, and
That feels like it.
Yeah, once I'm pushing on the rib that's painful, they will know it. So then is it okay to work on the rib in the front?
Yeah.
Make sure I have permission to do that. And once again, it's very obvious which rib is protruding forward. And so, and if any time you feel uncomfortable with anything that's going on, you just tell me and we'll stop. So it's important that you feel comfortable. So I'm feeling a rib out of place in the back and in the front, and it's the same rib. So a little bit of pressure on it and hold it. I will usually have to hold this for about 3 to 5 minutes, and after about 2 minutes you'll begin to feel some micro twitching or spasming, which means that things are beginning to let go. You just stay with it and stay with it and stay with it. If it's really particularly stubborn, like say you might have to do with the intercostals, usually just pushing on it directly, but sometimes you need to loosen the intercostals, and once again, it's a sensitive area, so you want to be very careful with not being inappropriate in what you're doing. So pushing on that rib, eventually it will begin to move, and as it begins to move, I will be pressing up from the bottom on the bottom of that rib and letting go of the pressure on the top, and then pushing back down on the front of the rib and letting go of the pressure on the bottom. So what I'm doing is beginning to move that rib up and down, by alternating my pressure back and forth, and I don't take my fingers completely off, but just pushing up, pushing down, slowly. So I'll be pushing down for probably 30 to 40 seconds, and then pushing up for 30 or 40 seconds. Eventually, you'll be twitching and twitching and twitching, and very naturally and very normally, it will slide back into place. And when you compare the rib above and below, everything will be equal. Nothing will be protruding out. So then I say, okay, take a deep breath and see if it's easier to breathe. And if that rib's gotten back into place, usually they will notice a significant difference.